Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April 13th Comox Valley Water Committee meeting. Due to COVID guidelines, I'm very lonesome in here today. I do have some great staff with me, but most of the Water Committee is online. So we have Director Hamir, Director Grant, Director Grieve, Director Hillian, Director Cole-Hamilton, Director Swift, I believe all online today. So I'd like to start by recognizing that we're meeting today on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation. And I will go to the first item, which is the management report. If someone could move receipt.
Move receipt.
Move receipt. Second, Arbor, and I'm on the phone.
Okay, thank you, Director Arbor. So we have Director Arbor on the phone. That was moved by Hillian and seconded by Arbor. Thank you. And is there any discussion or questions about the management report? I don't see any hands up there. Is there anyone opposed to receipt? Seeing none, that's passed. Thank you. Okay, we've got some exciting reports this meeting. I'm quite excited about it. The first one is the Huntledge Crossing and pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the minutes, so I'm getting too excited. We've got the advisory committee minutes first, please, if someone could move
minutes.
Thank you. That was Grieve and Hamir, is that correct? Any questions or comments about the minutes? Seeing none, that's passed. Thank you. And now we'll go on to the Huntledge Crossing and pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe water main leak repair update. And I'll turn it over to staff, please.
Thank you very much, Chair and Directors. And I will refer to Mike Hirschmiller, who is online, to provide this verbal report for you and answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Russell. Through the chair, I will have a more detailed report for you at the next meeting. We just have just finished the second project last week, and so still compiling numbers and photos and whatnot. But I'll give you a quick update from the two repairs that we did. One major obstacle, as you know, with both of these repairs was trying to get them sorted before the weather changed. And when the system flows go up, that would have created lots of problems with our smaller backup pipe. So this gave us a very narrow window to work in. And I'd like to just acknowledge and thank as well all the support that we had internally and externally to make it possible. That's including you, the Water Committee, for understanding the urgency and approving a last-minute budget amendment to help make this possible. I'll start with the Puntledge River repair. That was the first one, and that was 3 phases of that. We needed welders to weld on a large 900 millimeter flange, which was for diver entry. That happened on the week of the February 22nd. Then we had smart ball run to help pinpoint the leak, and that was on the week of the March 1st, the next week. And then the divers went in to inspect and repair on March 15th, and all 3 phases went really well, went according to plan. And by the end of a long day on the 16th, on Tuesday, the repairs had been identified and fixed, as well as a great internal inspection of the entire length of river crossing, as well as an inspection of the patches that were previously done in 2019. So we were able to pressure test flush chlorinate a couple days early and put the main back in service on Friday, March 19th. The concrete cylinder pipe repair was the next one. So when SmartBall was running that first line, it identified a potential, another potential leak on the concrete cylinder pipe, which is about 3 kilometers away, further down the line, and just before the Solom River crossing. Concrete cylinder it's a really tough pipe to repair. It requires specialized fittings and procedures, and so for the last week of February and the first week of March, much of that time was spent ordering and fabricating the parts and pieces we needed to accommodate any different of 3 repair scenarios, because it's like I said, it's a complicated pipe to repair, and once you dig it up, you don't want to wait. You want to be able to go. So we wanted to have all the parts and pieces necessary for kind of any level of repair needed. So the location for that is right near the Solom River, as I said, at the bottom of a farmland. We first needed to access it, so we had to build in a mulch road and to get across the grass and install a box culvert to get up to the treat area where the location was. And then we had to excavate and do the repair, and that was scheduled for the week of March 29th for the road building and the week of April 6th for the just after the long weekend for the repair. So we uncovered the location of the leak, but what we found was not what we were expecting. It was kind of inconsequential, and it deemed not to be worth a very expensive repair that it would have been, and would have probably done more damage to the pipe if we'd kept investigating. We exposed 30 feet of pipe, 2 joints, and then did a kind of the external coating is grout on this water main, and we did a good inspection of that. Had an engineer on site to assist with that inspection, and actually deemed it to be in pretty good shape. We were able to install a monitoring well, which is where SmartBall heard the leak. We could not locate the leak there. We chipped all the grout off the joint and did a good inspection. Didn't find the leak that SmartBall heard. So we've installed a monitoring well. We were able to keep the box culvert in place so that we can continue to access this for regular monitoring, and we'll be able to sample that well for any kind of chlorine residual to monitor if a leak comes to surface. We were able to backfill and repressurize the main, and ready to turn it in a couple days early as well. I think it was Friday the 9th, which is when we called stage 3 off and returned the pipe to service. So now we've developed the procedures, we've acquired the specialized parts, and we have contractors in place for an efficient repair on this particular line next time it is needed. And just a note that we had actually budgeted this year to compile a parts inventory and develop the repair procedures for this specific pipe. And so through this kind of forced quick process, we've got that complete now. So that's good. It makes me a lot more comfortable. The concrete cylinder pipe used to be kind of an unknown entity to us, but now it's now we're a little more comfortable with it. So anyway, that's just kind of a quick overview of the 2 repair projects, and I'll happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you, Mike. Before I turn it over, I just wanted to say, you seem to be enjoying these new projects, and I'm wondering if there's any kind of sabotaging going on so that you can try out some new techniques. Of course, we're kidding, taxpayers. So I will turn it over now to any directors who have questions or comments. Okay, we have Director Hillian, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks very much for the report, Mike. Appreciate all the work. I'm just wondering, there is some road building that's required. Is that all able to be done on the right-of-way that is already existing, or is there any challenges there, environmental or private property or otherwise?
Yeah, the water main itself is in a right of way. The access to it is not. So yeah, we had to work with the farmer, and we just basically he had a part of a field that we had to cross. So we didn't put gravel down. We just put down kind of a hog fuel, like a thick bark mulch, and that was laid across as a road just for the equipment to get across without wrecking their field. But the farmers were great to work with. They both were there hanging around the site most of the time as well.
Do we compensate at all in a case like that?
In that case, there was about 3 loads of bark mulch, and we left it for the farmer to use. We piled it up for him at the end of the job, and he's using it in his horse stables.
Thanks. The other thing I wondered, I realized that the timing worked well in terms of the restrictions and limiting the impact, but was there any public feedback, good, bad, or indifferent in relation to those restrictions while they were in place?
There really wasn't to me. I didn't. Maybe they didn't filter down to me, but it was during a time of year that generally is not high water use. If it had been this week or next week, that's probably a different story. But no, it worked out well for timing, and we had that window that we thought that we were comfortable with, and it was mid-April was when we wanted this thing to be finished by. So that was kind of the timeline that we weren't prepared to go past.
Well, I'm touching wood here and hoping that our good luck continues. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any there. Mike, is it correct that our water restrictions did end earlier than anticipated with this project?
Yes, we had them. I believe they were till the 11th, and we called them off on the 9th.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for the report. Do we need to move receipt? Somebody could do that, please.
We proceed.
Great, thank
Second.
you, Director Cole-Hamilton and Director Hillian. Thank you very much. Is there any other comments? Anyone opposed to receipt? Great, thank you. That's passed. And thanks so much, Mike, for all your work and your team's work on this. All kidding aside, it's really impressive how you've tackled these leaks this year. Thank you. The next item is the Comox Valley Water Treatment Project dashboard update. I know I've been very excited to hear about this. So
Move receipt.
thank you. And a seconder for that?
Second.
And Councillor Cole-Hamilton, and we will pass it over to staff to give us the update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair and Directors, and we're very excited to describe to you a little project that we've been working on your behalf. And Charlie Gore is here to provide this report and answer any of your questions.
Can't hear you, Charlie.
Testing, testing.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Water treatment project. Project is progressing extremely well. We are flying towards end of construction right now. Today I have several metrics, a bunch of photos, and some milestones to update you all on. And I'm really excited about getting to show you the facilities very soon. So I'll jump straight into it. So over the previous months, we've hit some major milestones. We've completed the intake out in Comox Lake, the marine pipeline, which includes a submerged portion of HDPE as well as the tunneled portion out into the lake. We've tested that entire system, and it's passed all the hydraulic testing. We've also completed the raw water pump station structural and mechanical components, ready to start pumping water. We're still completing some electrical items out there, but it is into the final stages of readiness. At the water treatment plant, the structural and mechanical components are also complete, and the crews are working on completing the architectural and electrical components of that scope. And the treated water transmission main, which is the 5-kilometer line from the water treatment plant to connect into our existing transmission system, is also completed and hydro tested. So some huge milestones there that we've completed over the last couple of months. And you can see a photo here of us lifting the intake out into the lake. And you can see the lifting bags on that as they floated out and sunk it into place. Over the upcoming month, we'll be energizing the equipment at both the raw water pump station and water treatment plant. Later this month, we'll be starting up the raw water pumps and pushing raw water to the water treatment plant, which is obviously a huge milestone for the project, to see that new intake in operation and those pumps pushing the water through for commissioning the water treatment plant facility. We'll be completing the electrical and architectural works. There's the final architectural building that will house our operations crew is still being completed, as well as the final building surrounding the infrastructure. We'll be starting up the priority equipment at the water treatment plant as early as the first week in May. And we'll be tying in the finished treated water transmission main into our existing transmission system down at the chlorination station. So a couple of photos. This is a larger version of the photo that was on the previous slide. So you can see the lifting bags that are tied off to the stainless steel intake header. So this is delivered into the lake and then is floated, and they slowly let out the air as they sink the intake down into place. This here is what is attached to the HDPE pipeline that is submerged on the bottom of the lake, and the intake screens are attached to the two shorter stubs coming out of the top of that intake there, which is where our new water source for our entire transmission system will be generated. The third stub coming out off the top there is for future man access. So some of the jobs, some of the big expensive jobs that Mike is undertaking under emergency now to add pipe flanges and things, we are designing all of those into our future infrastructure so that if we have any problems, we can easily unbolt that flange, send divers in there without doing any major infrastructure changes. This is a photo from down the bottom of the raw water pump station wet well. So this is about 12 meters below the lake level, where you can see two of the raw water pumps here, two of the four, and you can see the ground level right at the top of the photo there. So these pumps are submerged down inside the lake level, which fills this chamber, which allows all the pump noise and vibration to be dampened by the lake water, and the water is pumped up and into the raw water pump station valve chamber. This is the valve chamber in its current state. You can see there's electrical cables still to be run, but all of the check valves and isolation valves are all in place, ready to start pushing the water through this valve chamber. When this chamber is complete, it will have walkways and staircases to access each area of the station. And on the right of the photo there, you can see a curved wall, and that is the wet well that the previous photo was taken from inside. So there is normally water coming up to most of the way on that right-hand wall there. Jumping to the water treatment plant now, you can see the walls, the architectural piece of the walls are starting to go up on the second level. The roof is now complete, and that architectural scope will be complete over the next month. This is from inside our new operations center where Mike Hirschmiller and his team will be situated from summer onwards. You can see the drywall, the HVAC systems, all the steel studs are up, and it's progressing well. The windows are going in. This is a photo of the last mechanical piece of equipment to be installed. So this is the flash mixing pumps, which is critical to the flocculation and filtering process. It's one of the first chemical systems at the water treatment plant. The large pipe in the background is the raw water coming up from the lake. So that's where the water enters the facility, and the treatment starts to begin. This is on the second level of the facility. This is taken while we were doing some hydraulic testing of one of the flocculation cells. You can see water in this first bay with some large gates stopping the water from flowing towards the filter bays. This is a good indication of what the second level of the facility will be, where our operators are able to look down into our flocculation system, our filtration system, as well as our backwash treatment system. And so it's really coming along. You can see handrails, all of the mechanical equipment is in, and we're starting to get to the finer details of hydraulic testing and fitting out the filter bays with the detailed mechanical equipment, and then the layers of sand and anthracite that go on top of those. This is down inside our what we call chemical alley, where all of our chemical tanks are. You can see that all the tanks are installed and the piping is now connecting all of those tankage. We have the platforms for equipment access for our teams all starting to come together. And you know, the final pieces in this photo are running the electrical lines to the pumps and installing the roll-up doors and man door there on the backside of the chemical tanks. So really progressing towards completion of these. So that's all the photos I have for you today. Jumping to finances, we're really starting to, you know, we're coming up on 90% complete of the project, and that's indicated by how much we've eaten into the budget. The contingency is still sitting very healthily. We have 3 change orders on our books thus far. One for the contaminated lake bed material that released the hydrocarbons, which we manage and have effectively closed out. One for some excess bedrock that we encountered on the treated water transmission main adjacent to the BC Hydro penstock. And one for the COVID claim that came from the first wave of COVID, when there were a lot of new restrictions that were put on our contractor based on physical distancing and isolating workers that had shown symptoms and people from out of province. So I think we're doing extremely well, and we're confident that we'll complete this project under budget. Last slide from my side, just an update on schedule. We're really, everything's tracking really well. The publicly communicated timeline for completion of the project is summer of this year, and we will absolutely hit that. There is a slight slip from the contract date of May 2021, but it's all within the general high-level schedule that we have committed to the public, as well as getting the system online before the penstock is shut down. And we're confident that we will have water flowing before BC Hydro have their shutdown. In addition, we've had some really huge successes on the community employment benefits. You can see there the commitments that were made for employment of Indigenous peoples, apprentices, and other underrepresented populations, and the actual hours that have been achieved to date far exceed those committed hours. So another big success on this project. Still a lot of work to be done. You know, the general premise is, you know, 80% of the effort to get the last 20% complete. There'll be lots of punch lists and work to come as we start up the equipment and work out the bugs of the system. But we have a lot of confidence in our design builder and the team we have around us. And Mike Hirschmiller's team is already ramping up and are heavily involved with the commissioning plans and the handover plans as we progress towards you know, starting operation this summer. It's very exciting. I hand it back over to the chair for any questions from any of the directors, and I'll keep the presentation up so I can flick to slides if anyone has any specific questions.
Great, thank you. Okay, I do see, I'm not sure who was first, Director Hillian, then I think Director Hamir.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks very much, Charlie. Remarkable progress. Have you ever been involved in anything this big before? Did he hear me? No?
Sorry, we can't hear you, Charlie, and I can't, oh, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Charlie, Madam Chair, I could just say that Charlie and the team, Chris LaRose, Mark, our communications, our finance, our legislative services, built a team of experience that may not have worked on a project of such magnitude in terms of price, but when you look at the individual skills and the abilities that were brought forward, we were able to respond and provide the guidance to this project that were required. So I think Charlie would answer that we were fortunate to acquire his skills from Metro, where those were fostered, and on similar projects, but he has shown and demonstrated through his collaboration with the team at the CVRD and our AECon and our other contractors on this project, the ability to deliver it as expected by our directors.
Well, full kudos to all of the team. Thanks so much. I did want to ask, though, in the appendix, it indicates there's a section that has safety incidents and environmental incidents, and I note that there are 0 environmental incidents. Would we not consider the contamination issue to be captured there?
Looks like Charlie's back to answer that question.
I am back. I apologize, everyone. I got booted out in the transfer back. Yeah, so the contamination incident, it didn't qualify as a reportable incident under the provincial regs. So we reached out to the province to announce the issues that we were having, and we never exceeded any of the provincial. We never had any recordable contamination in the water itself. The only contamination that we were able to find was at the surface, when we were actually sampling the sheen, as well as the actual lake bed silt. So we never actually had a recordable release by the provincial standards. So it was more of a one that we had to mitigate rather than one that was considered an official environmental incident.
Well, that's good to know. And the safety incident, that would be the type of thing that might occur on any construction site where somebody injures a foot or a hand or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was a forearm. It was a medical aid that happened. As you said, we have had some. Our contractor has been struggling a little bit with COVID. People do seem more distracted this last year than they have in the past, and they have really ramped up the safety. We have additional safety staff that have come out on our site to try to keep people safer and make sure that we don't have any serious incidents.
Good to know. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to Director Hamir.
Great. Thank you, Chair. And thanks to staff and especially to Charlie for that report. It was really great to see the progress that's been going on. And I just want to come back to the community benefits that we've been able to realize in the employment of different groups. And I'm wondering if, Charlie, since you're also working on the conveyance piece for the sewage commission, if we might be able to see similar types of community benefits on that side as well. That's one question. And then second one is I don't know if there's a way for us to kind of toot our horn anywhere around these benefits. Are you aware of any forums around project management, or maybe through UBCM that we can really advertise the success of what's happened here?
Yeah, I'll definitely attempt to answer the first one. I think that we have been having lots of conversations at the CVRD about social procurement and what that means to the CVRD and trying to understand the different options there with social procurement. Community employment benefits is just one side of it. There's other sides that come from local subcontractors and the amount of, if you look at the water treatment plant, even though our prime contractor is a large Canadian company from out of the area, 98% of the workforce are all within 100 kilometers of the site. So there's some pretty wonderful advantages in addition to these community employment benefits. So the reason why we instigated this on the water treatment plant was due to the grant that we received from the feds. It was a federal requirement. But that doesn't mean that we can't instigate this on our own. We can definitely make this part of both our design build and our design bid build procurement for the sewage conveyance. It's just a matter of how we communicate to the market, to the contractors, the importance that we're putting on it. For context, we put a $5 million tiebreaker on the water treatment plant, and what we said at that time is, here are 4 or 5 things that are really important to the CVRD. That if you are within $5 million of the lowest bid, we will take this to a tiebreaker and we will evaluate these things, and that included, the operability and maintainability of the infrastructure for our operations staff, for the community employment benefits and KFN subcontracting opportunities, and the general aesthetics of the facility and the impact to our public. I can't remember the 4th one, but that is how we communicated to the market the importance that we put on community employment benefits. So as we progress towards the critical meetings that the milestones that I highlighted in the Sewage Commission meeting in the fall, when we finalize the scope and start preparing the procurement documentation, then that'll be the time when we can talk about those specifics of how we plan to communicate to the market of what is important to us with when we proceed with our next major infrastructure project.
Thanks for that explanation.
Could you please repeat the second part of your question, Director Hemia?
More about how do we brag about all the successes you've had on the water treatment plant?
I think Russell might be best to talk to that. I think UBCM, I think, is a great suggestion.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions in a bit as well. So do we have anybody else waiting in the wings here? It doesn't look that way. Anybody else want an opportunity to ask any questions or comments? Well, I had a couple items, and one of the ones was I was thinking about this type of project, and could you tell me how many employees we had, or how many folks we had working on this project? Do you refresh my memory, just a ballpark?
Yeah, so the latest count out on site is 134 odd people, personnel. So that includes the management staff from our general contractor, what we call our craft workers, all of the skilled craftsmen of the different trades, as well as the subcontractors that are currently working on the site. So yeah, about 130, 140 folks. And then we also have a lot of folks that aren't on site. We have our owner's engineer consultant, who's based in Vancouver. Our general contractor also has a lot of their outside expertise based back in their head office as well. So I'd say there's probably 160 folks working on the project right now.
Mm-hmm. So it made me think about with COVID, those opportunities for celebration for, when people have been working together for a long time on a project like this. In somewhat normal pre-COVID times, there'd be times for, connection. So I just wondered if it kind of speaks a little bit to Director Hamira's question around how we may be able to celebrate this for the folks working on the project without being able to kind of gather. I'm just wondering if there's any plans in that regard.
I think it's a wonderful suggestion. I'm always a huge proponent for celebrating our workers. I think there's definitely plans for, we hope to have an opening ceremony for the facility, but as you know, by the time we open, most of those workers have moved on to different projects. And but one, yeah, I don't have a great idea right now, but I will definitely put my mind to how we can communicate to those working on the project how thankful we are. I think that is always extremely well received, and I don't think we do enough of it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. And I just had another question. Do we have a boat fleet on our, do we have any use for, now that we have this infrastructure out there to get out on the lake? I was just curious about that because I was looking at electric boats, motors, et cetera, and I just wondered if that was something that we had that kind of equipment.
Yes, Mike Hirschmerle could probably tell you more about it, but we do have a boat within our fleet. For the past several years, it has been on loan from UVic. It was a shared resource that we were able to take advantage of because our watershed protection team, as well as our water operations team, have been sampling in the lake, using that equipment to understand our water source. And recently we've had to go and purchase our own boat, and there actually will be storage for that boat up at the raw water pump station to keep that infrastructure safe and keep it on hand for continuing to monitor the water source.
That's great, thank you. And I see that Director Hamir has her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to plug, I knew I had seen something on the UBCM newsletters, and there is a Community Excellence Award for projects. And I would love to see if staff have time for us to, I'd love to nominate this project for one of those awards.
Okay, that sounds great. I know that
I will look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We're getting close to our next meeting starting. So are there any other last minute quick comments or questions before we?
Lisa, can we just check and see if Director Arbor has a question? He may be muted or need to be unmuted.
Okay.
Press switch.
Director Arbor, if you have a question, can you press *6? Okay, well, I guess
It says carry on.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, thank you so much, Charlie, for that. First of all, I'll just ask if there's anyone opposed to receipt of this report. Doesn't appear so. It's very exciting. I was looking forward to this. Thanks for all the hard work, and we look forward to the final, I guess, couple months of the project.
Move termination.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much, Hillian and Cole Hamilton. Thanks, everyone. Oh, sorry, we need to vote. Anyone in opposition of termination? No one opposed? Thank you.